Okay, if you clicked on this video, then odds are you probably watched my review of Stir Crazy on my main channel when I said this.
The brace up, be strong.
Me, if I ever got put in prison. There was one time I almost got arrested and 3 sheriff's deputies came up to the house. I'll tell you the story after this movie. It is a true story. This is not clickbait. I really did almost get arrested. Well, let me tell you the whole story. Okay, so this requires a second party. And let me introduce to you my best friend from college, Kyle. So I reached out to Kyle for his take on this adventure too, and he was kind enough to send me video of him recalling this story, and not to be dramatic, but Kyle named his videos My Testimony. I don't know if you know this about me or can tell from my videos, but I happen to be extremely extroverted. Shocker, I know. And like any good extrovert does, I like to befriend the most introverts of introverts and then get them into shenanigans, okay? Kyle is very introverted, doesn't cause any problems, super great guy, very nice, very funny. At this point in my life, a little bit of sad in here, I had recently lost my granddad. The first big death for me in my life, like one that I'm gonna remember forever. That was the first grandparent I lost, the only grandparent I've lost, the other ones are still kicking. So like any young adult who is experiencing their first real encounter with death of a close family member, I make some irrational decisions. I also do that even when I'm not going through a traumatic life event. So my granddad that I'm talking about, I called him Papa Wilson. His name was Billy. Here's a picture of him. Fun guy. Would go to Tunica, Mississippi, gamble. He had a karaoke machine. That's where my love for music started, honestly. Anyways, Papa Wilson. When he died, there wasn't a service, there wasn't a memorial. But when somebody dies, you know, you get together and you kind of go through their things. If they didn't have a will, if they didn't leave you anything, and Papa Wilson didn't have a will. When that happens, at least in my family, like we go to that person's house, pick out things to remember them by. Well, that didn't happen for Papa Wilson. And one day, Kyle and I were out, I'm sure we had stopped at Sonic. Anyways, and I decided to go by Papa Wilson's house. His wife, Mama Wilson, had left the house a long time ago. Like, the house was vacant. And so I take Kyle, getting sentimental, and I'm sure I'm telling him stories about Papa Wilson, about gambling and how he would get online and play poker. And anyways, well, I skirt up into the house.
So you pick me up from the dorm, and we go out to this trailer in the middle of nowhere.
And Kyle's with me. And I'm like, you want to go see if the door's unlocked? Now, my Mama Wilson and I, we're still friends on Facebook. We don't talk all the time. And even then, we didn't talk all the time, you know? I didn't reach out to her to see if I could go in the house. Instead, I look at Kyle and I'm like, hey, you want to... Looking back, what an awful idea this was. I'm like, hey Kyle, you want to go see if a door's unlocked? Front door's locked, can't get in. Back door though, it's not closed. It has a crack about that big. I walk in.
Go in, huge living room, and it seems like it was just like a disaster at this point.
And here I am in my grandparents' house, and it's just empty. Like people had gone through the cabinets, like the table was still in the dining room, and it was in disarray. I don't know if somebody had previously broken in and just gone through everything. There were like Uno cards in the floor, and my grandparents, I don't know how to put this lightly, chain smokers, and they smoked in the house. So like where the pictures were, there were these white squares with just yellow wall around it. So you're in the living room and you go down this hallway, right? And there's like a bathroom to your left, and you go in and it's the bedroom, like my grandparents' bedroom. And it is just trashed, my dudes. Like there's pieces of clothing. There were mounds of papers, photos, photo albums.
And if I remember right, there were 1 million pictures of like family members and like just really old pictures. Like
memories. And when I say mounds, okay, I'm 5'9". There were mounds up to my kneecap. And so I look at Kyle and I'm like, I don't know what any of this is. And so we start sifting through all these pictures. So Kyle and I sit down and there's mounds. It's not just one big pile. I mean, it's like scattered throughout this bedroom and this bathroom. There was some in the bathroom. I don't understand. So Kyle and I sit down. I'm like, let's start going through them. You know what? We found some really cool pictures. I also found this really cool picture of this very fluffy cat.
And we found this one that was of a very photogenic cat. And I ended up like fixing it up, so I can send you that because I'm pretty sure I still have that picture.
Never seen that cat in real life before. Don't know whose cat it is, where the cat came from, but the back of it, Its name was Sparkles. And somebody took the time to get that cat a glamour shot made. And I respect the hell out of that. We're sifting through it and I find this little white thing, this little oblong shaped, banana shaped thing, right?
I don't know if I should tell this part. You can either cut it out or bleep it out or something, but we found your grandma's dildo.
And I'm like, what is that? And Kyle is very quiet. And I'm like, no, what is this? And I was like, oh, it opens. I open it and it's where you're supposed to put batteries, so I think I found my grandma's dildo. Anyways.
And your grandpa's Viagra.
I forgot about the Viagra. I don't want to talk about it. That's the most traumatic part. Anyways, so Kyle and I are at this vacant house, at my granddad's vacant house, probably like 3 hours going through all this stuff, right? All of a sudden, I look at him, he looks at me.
And all of a sudden we hear like a knock at the door and we're just like, oh shoot, like who is that? Because
he was like, who is that? And I said, well, I can guarantee it's not my granddad coming to check on his house because he's dead as hell. And my Mama Wilson doesn't know I'm there, so I don't know who it could be. Police, open up. I ain't never been in trouble before in my entire life. Neither has Kyle. So to hear police, I scurry over to the bathroom window and I'm like, five sheriff's deputies' cars are around my granddad's house. I have never been in trouble before, so what do I grab? So I want to grab these really cool pictures. What does my dumbass do? My dumbass grabs some nail polish because it was a cute color. It turns out to be expired. It was chunky, it was gross, I had to throw it away. And then I grabbed this handful of pictures, and what do? My dumbass opens my jacket and puts the pictures in my jacket.
And so you're sitting here hiding this stuff, and you're like, no, we're good. We're supposed to be here or whatever. And I'm just like, oh my God, what has she done?
Why? What? And then, okay, I'm gonna get ahead of myself. I have the pictures, and I'm coming around the back door, and I'm like, we're coming out of the back. The deputies walk around the house, and they're like, who are you? And I'm like, I'm Ashley, and this is my friend Kyle. Why are you here? So there's Kyle. Kyle's not saying anything because I'm the one that got us into this mess. He don't know the people who used to live at this house, and here we are maybe getting arrested, okay? So that's when the cops are like, what do you have in your jacket? And that's when I go into the spiel about how my granddad died and we weren't allowed to take anything from the house. I've never been in trouble before, so like any basic white bitch, I start crying because I'm scared. I'm thinking I'm gonna go to jail.
And I'm just like, man, I'm like one semester away from graduating college and I'm fixing to get arrested.
Anyways, he walks up, he's like, whose house did you say this was? And I was like, it's my granddad's. And he was like, well, when I ran this address in our computer, it's under foreclosure. And I was like, oh, well, that sounds about right. It looks like a house that you would foreclose on. And he was like, do you know what that means for you? I was like, nope. And that's when he looks at me and my best buddy Kyle and was like, you broke into a house that's owned by the state right now. Like, you're looking at trespassing and depending on what else you have on you, burglary. And I start crying, and not like the pretty crying. I'm talking like Still Magnolias on my second channel. I'm talking snot. I'm talking, oh my God. Kyle's keeping it together. On the inside, I know for a fact that Kyle was dying, but in that moment, he was stone cold silent. I was bawling, and he was like, can you prove to me that, you know, this was your grandparents' house? And I was like, well, my granddad's dead. So he was like, well, what about, you know, was he married? Does he have kids? And I was like, let me call my mom. So I call my mom. Bad idea. Ring, 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 ring. Hey, Mom. Ashley, what's wrong? You sound like you're crying. Because I am crying. I need to ask you something, and I need you to not freak out. I am going to freak out. So me and Kyle came over to Papa Wilson's house to see if they left anything that I could take to remember him by, and then cops got called, and so I might get arrested for trespassing. I need Mama Wilson's number to prove that I know the people who live here. She immediately starts to cry. Do you have Mama Wilson's number? Yes. So she gives me Mama Wilson's number. She does not answer because she doesn't have my number saved, and she doesn't answer numbers that she doesn't have saved in her phone because it might be spam. So I leave her a voicemail. Mama Wilson, this is Ashley. If you do not call me back, me and my friend Kyle might get arrested. Please call me back immediately. I hang up. I message her on Facebook because like any older person in the early 2000s or in the mid 2010s, she was always on Facebook. And I messaged her and I said, Mama Wilson, I need you to call me right now. I might get arrested. Here's my phone number.
As soon as you're looking for that message, like 2 more cops come up and they're all just like questioning us and asking for our ID and just like all this stuff.
she calls me. Okay? She's like, Ashley, what could you possibly have gotten yourself into that you call me to get you not arrested? So I put her on speakerphone, and I'm like, okay, Mama Wilson, I'm standing right here with Deputy so-and-so. Me and my best friend Kyle kind of went into the house because I was looking for something to remember Papa Wilson by, and now I might get charged with trespassing because it turns out the house is in foreclosure. Anyway, so I stand out there for another like hour and a half, and everything ends up being cleared, that the house is in the process of being foreclosed on, but it's not yet. It's still in my grandparents' names. And that's when he looks at me and he was like, you didn't take anything else from the house? I was like, nope, just a bunch of pictures, and I had fingernail polish, whatever. And he was like, okay, I hope you learned a valuable lesson here. He was like, you should probably leave.
And luckily nothing came of it. They were just like, yeah, just don't come back.
And I was like, can do, buckaroo. We get in the car, we get back in the car, and me and Kyle, we drive off. The cop is behind me making sure that we actually leave. Have never been so scared in my entire life. Again, I was a good kid. I never got in trouble. But that was the time that I almost got arrested for trespassing and burglary. And I haven't broken into a house since. That's part of the reason why I won't go like urban exploring. I am so scared of getting arrested. Because again, like I said in Stir Crazy, I would find the toughest looking person and I would immediately become somebody's prison bitch. Like, I don't have time. I just don't have time. But wow, what a fun video that would have made, you know? Maybe I'll get arrested. Maybe I'll get arrested just for shits and giggles so I can make a video about it. No, probably not. That gives me anxiety anyway.